Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our presentation of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. Our hope today is to review Business Central, which is a cloud-based all-in-one business management solution that can help your organization in a variety of ways by streamlining processes, allowing you to make smarter decisions, and grow your organization and scale easily, as Business Central can work with a variety of different organizations and different size organizations. So what I wanted to start off with was just talking about some of the benefits that you get from the Business Central uh, product and the ecosystem that comes along with it. So really, Business Central is the center hub of a variety of different Microsoft applications, including Dynamics 365 CRM. It's housed in the Microsoft Azure cloud, which is one of the most secure and largest cloud networks in the world. All of you are probably familiar with Microsoft Office, and especially lots of you are using Office 365 today, and Dynamics 365 Business Central has a variety of interaction points with Office, and hopefully you'll find that that is really useful for you as you continue down your journey. Also, I wanted to introduce the concepts of Power Platform. Power Platform is a tremendous tool set that really provides you with three different things. It provides you with Power BI, which is a reporting and dashboarding solution. It provides you with Power Apps, which is a non-code development environment to allow you to even take Business Central a step further by providing you with the ability to niche the product, make it more your own. And then also there's going to be a variety of industry solutions that are available that are written to work alongside Business Central to allow you to take advantage of custom integrations, industry type solutions that allow you to really take Business Central a step further. So why are you here today? There's probably a variety of reasons that you might be watching this today. And one of those might be that your business growth is somewhat strained, and you can attribute that to the fact that your business is growing, but your systems can't keep up. And that really plays to what I mentioned just a moment ago, which is the idea of Business Central being very scalable and very flexible to grow and evolve as your business grows and evolves. Also, a variety of the clients that we've worked with in the past have disconnected systems. So they struggle because there's not a good process to make sure that different applications are available and integrated across their business. Therefore, they are seeing a lot of silos across their business, which means people are sharing information in a slow and ineffective way. Information can be misconstrued, etc., because there really is no one, I guess you'd call it one truth, because everything's from a different location. Also, reporting limitations. And one of the things that Microsoft brings to the table is a great environment for us to be able to provide not only a good means to collect information, but also to provide that information back to you in a way that makes sense. So today we'll talk a little bit about Power BI. I'll show you some of that. We'll talk about some of the standard reports that come right out of the box. And we'll talk about how we can interface with tools like Excel, Microsoft Outlook, etc. And then also, many of you may be working on outdated and legacy systems. And this really is a particularly big issue today. And part of the power that Business Central brings to the table is the fact that it is a cloud-based application. You're not relying on hardware that you have to purchase or servers that you have to bring into your organization. And therefore, you're going to be able to continue to evolve and move forward and with systems that are automatically updated via the cloud. And this can really help you stay up to date. It eliminates those stopping points where you have to upgrade your old system, etc. So I think you're going to find that this is really one of the biggest attributes to Business Central and cloud-based applications in general. So what is Business Central? Well, it really is a single comprehensive business solution and it meets the needs of a variety of sizes and types of business. And at the core of that is also financial management. As you'd expect, a good system has to have strong accounting fundamentals, and certainly Business Central starts there. However, there's also sales and service management. There is a component of CRM, as well as the ability to integrate with Dynamics 365 customer engagement, which is a more robust CRM solution, as well as being able to provide service opportunities for those organizations that serve their clients. Supply chain management. One of the strengths of Business Central is its ability to provide inventory management, distribution, sales orders, purchase orders, and everything that it takes to transact with vendors and customers. Also, none of these products, as I said earlier, would be worthwhile if they didn't provide you with strong reporting and analytics opportunities. And I hope to show you a couple of those great tools today while we're reviewing Business Central. Operations management is an important part of this, so making sure that your business is running in a fluid and efficient way, and you'll see elements of that as well as we go along. And then project management. There are a variety of tools that we can use. If you're a professional service organization and you'd like to be able to manage time for your labor and also expenses, and then use that as a billing tool to make sure that you're working very effectively and working in a way that allows your customers to get the most benefit, most accurate billing, and you're able to track your profitability per job. The other thing that's important to note here in this slide is the idea of connecting with third-party applications. So Business Central offers a variety of tools to allow you to connect with your payroll solution if you're outsourcing payroll, your banking, so whether that be paying vendors electronically or receiving feeds from your bank or doing positive pay. Those are just a few examples of the ways that we can interface that way. Or if you have industry-based solutions that you want to make sure run directly through and into a strong accounting solution, Business Central is going to offer opportunities for that as well. So one of the things that I think is important to note is not only is Business Central a comprehensive solution, but Business Central is also a very strong tool that can work the way you do. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that Business Central can work on a variety of different devices, whether that be an iPhone or an Android device or a tablet or your desktop that you may always work on. So if you travel a lot and are more mobile, or whether you're working in the office each day, you're going to have great access to Business Central. And then lastly, one of the things that I think I referred to a little earlier, but I want to make sure we emphasize and show you today, is Business Central really lends itself well to working in conjunction with your Office 365 Outlook solution. So whether that be emailing a quote or a purchase order to a vendor, those types of things can really be automated to allow your staff to work more effectively and in a more streamlined way, while making sure that your accounting records are correct and everything is secure. So I wanted to kind of really summarize everything that we've talked about so far before we jump into the demonstration of the product. So first of all, I wanted to really make sure that you could get a good idea of where Business Central fits into the overall Microsoft ecosystem. So you can see it's really in the center. And thus the name Business Central. So all of the tools that the product brings to the table interface very nicely with your collaborative and productivity tools with Office 365. And that's the traditional things like Outlook that we've mentioned, Excel. You can get Word documents that are the templates for much of the forms and so forth that you produce. But I really like to use some of the other productivity tools such as OneNote or Skype or Yammer. And so if you're not using Office 365 today, you really should investigate it and see how not only can it interface nicely with Business Central, but how it can help your organization overall and keep your staff organized and working together and communicating and collaborating well. On the right-hand side of this graphic, you're going to notice that what we had talked about before, which is the Power Platform. So Power BI for dashboards and high-level reporting, Power Flow for workflows such as notifications and other things, and then Power Apps, which is the non-code development tool. Now, this is all based on the platform of Microsoft Azure, which we talked about. And then at the top of this graphic, you're going to notice Microsoft AppSource. And I really haven't mentioned that name too much, but Microsoft AppSource is the environment that Microsoft provides for its certified independent software vendors to provide you with applications that work in conjunction with Business Central, whether it be a healthcare billing system, whether it be a time and expense tool to allow you to do expense reporting, or whether it be an integration tool that allows data to flow more freely. These kind of things really provide you with great value. And they're available on a marketplace that is easily accessible, and it's very easy to get to these tools. The other thing that's nice is Microsoft controls this environment so that only certified partners can put their product out on the AppSource environment or the marketplace, and therefore you know that you're working with tools that are approved by Microsoft for Business Central or CRM, etc. So with all of that, I wanted to take a moment and just exit out of PowerPoint and move on into Business Central. So with that being said, I'm going to jump right over into Business Central, and it'll take just a moment for me to refresh my solution, and then we'll go off to the races. And as you can see, Business Central is a true cloud-based application. We're working in Azure. I have an environment that's set up as a demonstration. And I wanted to really first point out that Business Central is a role-based solution. And what that means to you is that it allows you to have different people with different responsibilities in the organization that will be able to see different things and get access to different things. And so this becomes a really important part of how Business Central allows you to collaborate across the organization while keeping controls about who does what and how they do it. So from here, you're going to notice across the top, I have my company name, and I'll always have this at the top of every window. And then, as you'd expect, I have my drop-down menus around some of the traditional pieces of the solution you'd expect, such as finance, cash management, sales, purchasing. Now, I did want to point out that because it is role-based, if I log in as a different role, I may see some different windows, and I'll do that in a little while to give you some sense of that. So Business Central is a true full application, full ERP application that provides tools like manufacturing, it provides service management, it provides project tracking, etc. So these menus, we're going to spend some time in a few of these so that you get an idea. Next, we're going to talk about the master records. So no matter whether you're a service firm or whether you're a distributor or a manufacturer, you're going to use at least some of these. So you can see here we have our customers, our vendors. You're going to see that we have our items, bank accounts, chart of accounts, etc. And so we'll spend a little bit of time in a couple of these just so you get a sense of how Business Central navigates and how it works. Below this is one of the tools that I think is very valuable, and that's what we call headlines. So what headlines allows us to do is it allows us to surface some of the key metrics that are going to be important to our organization, and really kind of treats it like a rotating PowerPoint deck. So it brings up each of these individual metrics and allows you the capabilities of drilling into any one of them. In this environment, I'm really focused on a sales metric environment, but if you're more focused on the procurement side or the inventory management side, there are different metrics that you'll be able to surface as well. Now, off to the right, you're going to notice that we have several actions that are available, and you can think of actions as just the availability to get to certain activities that you do on a regular basis, whether that be entering a quote, whether that be entering a purchase order, or whether that be surfacing a report in an Excel worksheet. All of that different functionality is available right at your fingertips. And if you look at the navigation of this solution in general on this homepage, it really does lend itself to being able to get to anything in the organization system in a keystroke or two. And that's really valuable. You could almost compare it to a cockpit and the dials and the levers and all of the different metrics that show up on a cockpit dashboard. And so really, Microsoft has invested to make Business Central its flagship product for small and mid-market organizations, and part of that is making it easy to use and navigate. So in these actions, you can see that I can do things like clicking on a purchase order, and it'll immediately surface a purchase order for us. So once I get into the purchase order, I can go ahead and enter the transactions and so forth. And we'll come back to this in just a little while with a little bit more detail, because there's also some tailoring that can be done to these screens to make them fit your organization even more precisely. I'm going to spend a little bit of time just going into Excel reports, because this is probably the first and most obvious example of where Business Central might work with Office 365, because it allows you to work with Excel, which is an accountant's dream. It's a great tool. And so I'm going to give you an example here of how we can drop reports directly from Business Central as a standard report right into Excel for you to be able to review. You can do some more formatting for it and so forth. So you'll see here in just a moment that I've surfaced a trial balance. That trial balance is going to go, and Excel is going to go out and it's going to pull information directly from Business Central to allow us to load this data. So as you look here, you notice I already have the outline of the report, and now it's going to start to refresh the data and pull that information right in as we would have expected. And so the nice thing about these reports is some of them are pivot table driven, some of them are list driven, but the idea is it's just another way that Business Central allows you to analyze your data. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and move on. And so where I'd like to go next is this area called activities. And so activities is a nice area for allowing you to create visualizations and visual cues, you may call it, so that we can really start to put some conditional information into the metrics that we see. So if you've ever used Excel's conditional formatting, you know you have the ability to use the concept of a red light, yellow light, green light type of approach, where you can start to look at things that are in risk and they'll be more obvious to you. So as an example, I can see that my sales this month are $1,556 and it's showing as red. That means that it's below where it should be, whereas my sales invoices that are overdue are at 98,000, which is where I would expect. Now, this is very skewed data in my demo environment, but hopefully this concept resonates with you. So if I go into activities and set up queues, then you'll notice that I have the ability to set up the thresholds to determine each of these metrics and whether they're going to show up as favorable or unfavorable. So you really define what the metrics are, you define how they look, and then you can drill into any one of those. Throughout the system, you're going to notice tiles. These tiles allow you to see different blocks of information. So as an example, you see one here called purchase orders. I can click on that and it will take me directly into the purchase order window. I get a list of all of the open purchase orders, and then you'll notice that there's a hyperlink and I can drill into any one of those. As I go on down, I wanted to really spend some time on a few things. So probably one of the most important things that Business Central brings to the table is the ability to get information out in a meaningful way. And so what you're going to notice under this Insights area is a section called Business Assistance. And this happens to be focused on a cash flow view. But the nice thing about all of these graphics is that you can hover and it will actually give you the data as you need to see it. And I can hover from week to week in this example because this is actually cash flow viewed on a week. Many of these reports I can actually then alter to days or weeks or months or quarters. Also, you'll notice that these reports, there's a variety of them that you can enable and make those visible to the appropriate people within the organization. So anything from your cash to your agings to your aged inventory to your customer activity. This kind of information is right out of the box and will work directly with your data. Also, as from the accounting perspective, we can see things like our favorite accounts, our control accounts like cash, payables, receivables, perhaps assets or inventory, and we can surface those to the screen, see their balance, and actually drill directly in. Also, and another example is a trial balance. And so from here, you can see the trial balance, you can see the summary areas, and then you can drill into any one of these areas as well to be able to measure your activity right away. The last thing I wanted to show here is I really wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the power of Power BI. So this is just one example of a Power BI dashboard that's available, just focused on items sold by quantity. And you'll notice that each one of these is an item that is in my inventory. I have some functionality that allows me to focus this. I can go in and I look at more data behind it, or I can even export that data. So Power BI is a great tool because not only does it work with Business Central, but it can work with other tools as well. It can pull data together and do even more expanded dashboarding if you need. And the other thing is you'll notice as I go to the top here, there are some templated reports that are available directly with Business Central, anything ranging from customer activity to inventory to jobs to sales orders, etc. So with all of that being said, this is a good navigational discussion with Business Central and the homepage that's available to you. Hopefully you've seen that you can get to just about anything within just a couple keystrokes. The next thing that I wanted to spend a minute on is what I'll call personalization. And so with personalization, what I can do is I can come in and I can actually take a window and make it more adept to my individual organization. So you'll notice that I came into my purchase order window, I selected a particular vendor, and immediately I got information and statistics and tiles, as you remember from the home screen, that is information very specific to this vendor that I'm working with. Also, if I don't need this information any longer, then I can manage my screen real estate, so to the right and to the left, as well as up and down. So you'll notice here that I now have a purchase order window. I can expand to show more information, but Business Central also allows us to do what's called quick entry, which really focuses on the fields that are most important. One other thing I wanted to talk about on this particular screen, and it's indicative of what Business Central can do throughout, is what's called personalization. I'm going to go in, I'm going to personalize this window. And what you'll notice is that I can highlight the grid and what's being entered into that grid. So you can see that there are a variety of fields that I collect information. But each individual organization may want to collect different information. Some may be project driven, some may not. Some may have multiple locations for their warehouse and their inventory, some may not. There's a variety of those different things that go on and the dynamics that go along with it. And so with that in mind, I can come in and I can actually highlight any one of these fields, and I can either hide it or move it. So if I hide a field, it'll just take it off the grid altogether. If I move it, I can move it either to the left or to the right. The other thing that this offers to me is the ability to also add fields to the window. So if I do that, I'm going to go in and I'll, oops, my fault. I'm going to go back into personalize. And instead of moving and removing, I'm going to go ahead and click more and fields. And what this allows me to do is get a list of the fields that exist within Business Central that might be eligible to show up on this grid. And therefore, I can drag and drop those pieces of information directly onto the purchase order as I need to. So you can see that simply pick up and drop. So wanted to give you the idea that this is a really nice way in which Business Central allows you to tailor your solution, make it visually proper for your organization, but doesn't require any kind of customization or really any development requirements from your partner. And so really allows you to be more independent to tailor the solution to your needs. All right, so with that being said, I wanted to go into just a few more things. I wanted to spend a moment talking about Outlook. And you're probably wondering, well, why would you want to do that? And the real reason for this is that I have some functionality that exists to allow me to link Business Central directly to my Outlook, and I can actually interact in Outlook. Examples might be that I could send an email to a vendor. Say I'm going to send an email to Crystal York. Crystal happens to work for one of my vendors called Fabricam. I can come in, I can simply click and notice that I have some Business Central connectors, and I can click New, and I can enter a purchase order. So right within Business Central, I have the ability to create a purchase order in Outlook. It'll update Business Central and allow me to email a PDF version of the purchase order directly to my vendor. So you'll notice that when I selected Crystal York, the system was smart enough to know who the vendor was. Also, I can start to enter the information necessary to enter a purchase order. So this should be the information we just saw a moment ago in regards to the system and entering the data appropriately. So you can see here that I got my product. I can link into my warehouses. I can continue across and be able to send information about quantities and taxes. So you can see right along the way all of that information that I was collecting directly in Business Central, I can now do here. Now, with that all being said, all I have to do is click on this ellipsis, and I can scroll down and I can click send, and this will actually create the PDF as an attachment, and it will send this email directly to Crystal York at Fabricam, and it will save the purchase order directly into Business Central. So this is one example of how really the system can produce for you, leveraging the Microsoft environment and Office 365. Now, I have one more thing I'd like to talk about outside of Business Central is a tool called Flow. And I have two examples that I'd like to show you. One is if you need any kind of notifications when certain activities occur, then I can come in and I can select, for instance, inventory level notifications. I have one that I've already created here, but I wanted to give you the idea of what Flow really does. So you can see here that for my company, Cronus USA, if my inventory is less than or equal to 0, then I'm going to send an email to the particular users in my system. So you can see that I have 2 emails here that would apply. So all this being said is I can create notifications in Flow. Now, I also have some flexibility to do a few other things. So if I go back to my flows, I can do things like requesting approval for Business Central when I enter payables invoices. So if I simply come here, then I can click on this one. It's a request for approval for 365 Business Central purchase invoice. I can edit, and I can, like you can see, it's really a flow chart showing me all the information that's necessary. It starts off with information about the company. So you can see I'm working in Cronus USA. I can say what item I need. I can say request approval, and I can actually customize the text that shows up in the title of the email plus the details that show up in the body of the email. So in this example, if I'm looking for an invoice, I can say what invoice number, what vendor, what date, et cetera, and I can send this thing right through an approval process. Now, the other thing that I wanted to make sure you knew is many of these are actually available right out of the box. And so this is really important to know, is that you probably worry, well, how am I going to create that? I've never worked with Flow before. And the idea is that many of them are already templates that are built in. So you can see request approval for a purchase order, request approval for onboarding a customer, etc. So with all that said, Business Central is a very wide-ranging business application, ranging from accounting to distribution, to projects, to manufacturing, to service, that works in conjunction with tools you may already use in regards to Office 365 and many of those tools that are available. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back and we'll finish up our presentation by me saying thank you for your time. It's much appreciated, and just offer this advice that if you have additional questions or if you want to learn more about Business Central, please feel free to contact your Microsoft partner. They will be glad to help you. And thank you again for your time, and we'll look forward to hearing from you sometime soon. Thanks.